Trigger warning. This podcast contains the ins, outs, and a whole roundabout with women's health. This includes sexual assault, kinks, sex, anxiety, and others that may not be suitable for a younger audience. You know yourself best, so remember to be kind to yourself. This episode is on borderline personality disorder. So, sit back, relax, and chill out for a second. Enjoy! So hello to all of you that put the U in Uter-Us. It's Charlie from Uter-Us Talks, and we're a talk show where we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about our lips. And like I say, not the talking kind. So let's get it on, shall we? So in today's episode, we'll be speaking about borderline personality disorder, also known as BPD. So this is something close with me, and who better to share it with than my good friend Amy. So give yourself a little introduction for yourself, Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy. I am a third year drama and performance student at the University of Portsmouth.
Oh.
I know. And I have borderline personality disorder, which is why I'm here to talk about it today.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show and everything.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. We've got coffee and Monster, and we've got chocolate, so pre-warn. If you hear us gulping, then it's that. I'm really sorry. We're going to be here for 40 minutes?
Yeah,
so
we need snacks.
We need snacks. I think, we need snacks. So, borderline personality disorder.
It's such a vibe, yeah.
It's a vibe.
No, it's not.
So, how was your diagnosis? When was you diagnosed? All that jazz.
So, it's really it's such a weird story because it was beginning of 2020 and this is how it all started. I just got fired from working in Spoons. Spoons.
Oh my god, is it true with all the food?
What do you mean? I didn't work in the kitchen.
You didn't?
No.
Oh,
but I couldn't pour a pint, so I got fired. And then some girl that I'd randomly met at a train station a few months before we got talking. She hit me up and she was like, "Oh no, I live around the corner from you." And I told her that I got fired, and she was like, "Oh, let's go out. We'll go on a night out."
Yeah.
And we became really good friends, but she was an awful influence. But she had BPD,
right.
And she was like, "You've definitely got it." And I was like, "Mate, I don't know what that is. Never even heard of it. Don't know what that is. Don't have it." And it was the more and more I hung out with her, she was like, "You've definitely got it. You need to go to the doctors. You've definitely got it." And I was
really?
"Shit, all right." And it was just so weird. But we had a very dodgy friendship. She got me into with some dodgy people, and she was also a hardcore drug user. So she was like, "Try this, try that," and I was like, "Alright, cool."
You're just
alright, sure.
Yeah.
So it was she was like, "You've definitely got BPD, but I'm not going to help it at all. I'm going to just make you worse. Actually, I'm gonna give you all the things to make it worse."
Yeah.
So, but I ended up going to the doctors, and he was like, "Yeah, no, I think you've got it, but I can't diagnose you." And then I was in therapy at the time, and they were like, "Yeah, no, I've treated people with it. You've probably got it, but again, we can't diagnose you."
Why?
Because it has to be psychiatrists.
They take long as well.
Yeah. So they were like, "We'll put you on a wait list."
Yeah.
But we don't know when you're gonna find out. And then, so I kind of learnt to cope with it. So I almost got therapy for it before I'd even been diagnosed, because they taught me coping mechanisms for it.
Yeah.
And that was through lockdown, so it was all over the phone.
Yeah.
And
which
then,
must have been stressful, as it is, considering it was in COVID, and you weren't getting any answers from anyone.
No,
and
it was not ideal. And then I was starting uni that September, and I was like, alright, so I've just got to go to uni, not knowing what's actually wrong with me.
And what your body and your mind's doing. You don't know what.
Yeah,
Jeez.
It was mad. But I came to uni, obviously in Portsmouth, and I immediately, again, got in with really dodgy people. And obviously, if people know about BPD, you mirror people.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is uni life. This is what the uni experience is. You go out partying all the time. You you try all these drugs and stuff, and you get with people. That was the thing. But the more and more I was doing that, the worse and worse my mental health was getting.
Yeah.
And I was so self-destructive. I was sleeping with people that I shouldn't. I was doing all the drugs under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But and then it was just so messed up, and I was like also like self-harming at the time as well, and it was just like really dark time
in your life. And especially, did you get diagnosed?
I still hadn't been diagnosed at this point. No. So I was like trying to live with it, not really knowing if I had it, and it could have been something else, because I'd also been told that it could be bipolar because it runs in my family.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, which one do I have? Because they're similar, but they're they're completely different as well.
The thing is, though, once you get diagnosed with something, it is like a massive freaking relief, and then you can actually like focus on getting up. So when you're in that stage of not knowing, you do get very self-destructive in like general. But obviously with BPD, like obviously when my sister, like she had, she would like go out and like not tell us who she's going out with and like all this stuff, and
mate, I put my mum up. I caused my mum so much stress.
Did you?
Like that poor woman. I'd go out. Or wouldn't know who I was going out with. She wouldn't know what I was doing. I'd come back to the house high, and she'd be like, "I know you're high," and I'm like, "Never touched drugs in my life, mate. Don't know what they are." And obviously she knew. And I ended up living with like a really close friend of mine for a while. Like he was like a bloody lifesaver, because I didn't want to go home because I didn't want to cause my mum that stress, but also I didn't know how to cope with it normally. So he ended up kind of taking me in and looking after me, and we're still really good friends now. So like he's great. He came and visited me a few weeks ago. But yeah, so I'm at uni, and then something really bad happened. So I met a guy, and he wanted to do drugs with me, and I was like, yeah, so that's so cool with me, love it. And then he deliberately gave me a dosage of like drugs that would knock me out. Wow. And then he proceeded to like do stuff to me. And then I didn't know until
you were, like, completely
I was passed out.
Yeah.
There were videos of me passed out on the sofa, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I didn't know. So then I ended up waking up in his bed with him, and he was like, oh yeah, I brought you here because I didn't know where you lived and I wanted you to be safe. And I was like, oh my god, that's so sweet.
Yeah. It's always the guys that act sweet that are massive dicks.
And then he had like a massive breakdown like in my house at the time, because I invited him back to my house. He had a massive breakdown in my house because it was drug related, because he told me he was trying to get clean, so I invited him over and he wasn't, and it was mental. And I've never actually talked about this with a lot of people. But it gave me like mild PTSD afterwards as well. And that was diagnosed as well with the BPD when I eventually got diagnosed. But that was what kind of shocked me to my system, to be like, no, I need to sort my shit out.
Sort yourself out,
So like I got clean, I stopped self-harming, and I was like, I need to start fresh because I can't live like this, and I can't end up like him, because all the drugs that he'd done, he was going into like psychosis, and I was like, I can't, I don't want to do that. So then tried to get on the straight and narrow and I got into a relationship, and that was really hectic, so that also didn't help.
Was this with your ex?
But because this relates to me getting diagnosed, because we had quite a hectic relationship, and it wasn't the best relationship, but I didn't tell anyone that. I was like, oh no, like he's the best, like he's amazing, like love of my life, whatever. And then I ended up moving in with him after like 4 months of dating for the summer, and that's when I got the call to be diagnosed at his house.
Oh god.
And
especially if things weren't the best. And you just want comfort in that time. Was it just...
But it was like, they were on the phone to me and they were like, oh, well, you've got a stable, safe relationship. And I was like, yeah, because he was there. So I was like, what am I going to say? So I ended up having that call with them, and I have all the paperwork and stuff, and I talked about like everything and like everything that I'd gone through, and like why I thought I had it, and they then asked me about specific symptoms and everything like that. And they were basically like, you've got it, but you're not high risk because you've stopped doing drugs, because you're not self-harming, because you're in a stable relationship, because I'd made it out to them that I was in a stable relationship.
But even so, like, even if you were, like, on your way up, like, there is sometimes, like, when you get yourself better, you're always going to be knocked down, and that's like this in life. When you like want to get yourself better, there's always going to be times where you feel like shit, basically. So for them to say that you weren't, them having like high risk, and like I think that they should have still kept on monitoring as well.
Well, this was the thing, and this is what I found out, and this is what the psychiatrist told me over the phone. It was like, if you're high risk, you'll get treatment and you'll get put on a list for DBT. And if you're not, you won't get a full diagnosis and you get no help. So because I was considered low risk at the time...
They didn't help you?
I didn't get put on any wait list. I didn't get put on any support. They were like, you can refer yourself for therapy somewhere else, but we're not going to do anything for you. And that was the last that I heard from them.
That is literally... That like, winds me up, because... When I got diagnosed with my diagnosis, like, they did the exact thing to me. They were like, because I was young, because I'm young, they, like, just thought I didn't need it. And it's like, but you will need it. You will need that, like, you'll need that outlet. So for them to say that, what the hell? Also, side note, what is
DBT?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what it stands for, but it's basically like CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, but it's like specifically for borderline personality disorder, and it teaches you how to manage the symptoms that are specific with borderline. And I know people that have got it, well, I don't know, like, I've seen online people that have got it, and they were like, oh, it's the best thing, like, it's exactly what you need, but you can't refer yourself for it. You have to be
but you know your own freaking mind, like, you know, so why should you have to have someone go, yeah, you can go in now? Like, it's just a piss take.
It was just like, and I was just sitting there thinking, I was like 6, so if I just go and I start self-harming again, or I start going off the deep end and doing drugs, like, are you then going to offer me help? Like, is that what it has to
come down to,
because I didn't want to do that, and it was like, is that how it needs to be now? Like, I have to be on the verge of, like, a freaking, like, suicide attempt for you to actually notice that I need help, and I need a full diagnosis, I need support.
Honestly, the mental health system, man, it's actually ridiculous.
And it was like, afterwards, it was like, I also didn't know how to feel, because they were like, you don't have a full diagnosis. And I was just like, they were like, you have it, but you don't have it as bad as most people.
But
and
it
was just like,
you can't say that to someone. It's like, that will automatically go, okay then, well then I'll get worse. Do you know what I mean? Or I'll like make myself feel worse. It's just like, that's not going to help anyone in any situation. But
then I just felt like I just invalidated everything for myself, because I was just like, well, no, you don't have it that bad, so you can't actually be upset. Oh, no, you can't actually do that, because... Oh, no, your abandonment issues, they're not that bad, because they're not as bad as someone else. Because you're not high risk. And it's like, no, my issues are just as valid as anyone else.
As anyone else. Your diagnosis is valid, just as valid as anyone else.
Yeah, but that was it. They just kind of disappeared. And then I had to refer myself to counselling. And I just had counselling with it's a charity organisation called Off the Record.
Yeah.
They're in Havant.
Yeah.
I had to trek to Havant every week to go.
Oh my god.
And then I ended up just having it over the phone. I was like, yeah, let's do it over the phone.
You were like, nah, the money at the moment, the living crisis.
But my therapist is actually called Amy, which was so like weird. So I'm like, yeah, Amy, this happened this week, and it was like,
oh my god, Amy
mental.
Squared.
Yeah.
I love that.
But she was amazing, and it was like, but I shouldn't have had to find a charity.
You wouldn't have had to
refer myself for
100%.
it, and then get help. They should have been like, okay, you've got this. We're gonna offer you support, or at least find somewhere for me to go.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything. They were like, you can just refer yourself to like the NHS,
but like,
which is like years.
Yeah, and also like having that, like, that's scary enough. Like, I know. It's like, it's very similar with my diagnosis, is that they did the exact same to me. They left me in the dark. They said, like, you have to go refer yourself. And I had to go find the charities for counselling. I had to do this. I had to do that. When you have no clue what this diagnosis is at the time, probably. You don't know what your body is doing. You want to learn about it so you can get better. But all you're getting is someone going, no. And that will make you feel a little bit insecure.
But they also don't give you any education.
No.
So, like, they'd ask me about the symptoms, like, because I think, if I remember correctly, like, the whole diagnosis protocol was that you have to match, like, 4 of a certain group and then 2 of another group. And it was like, and that... So I knew those symptoms, but there's so many more, and there's so much more about BPD that isn't talked about. And it was like, they didn't give me any resources or anything, and it was like, and I was saying this to you the other day, it was like, I go on TikTok now, and so many people are trying to bring awareness to BPD, and I find stuff out about my disorder more on TikTok than I do
bloody,
from
yeah.
like the professionals.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's ridiculous. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that there's like that resource now for people to talk about it and to bring awareness to it. But it's also like, it shouldn't have to be through a video social media app that people
might not
find
be
stuff out.
accessible for people as well. So some people might not have TikTok or have even the internet. Like, that's not accessible for most people. So they need to basically sort their shit out.
Yeah.
And this is why we're doing this freaking podcast.
Yeah.
So people can know about PPD. Oh my god, that's just child.
Well, honestly,
yeah,
it's tragic.
Honestly, right. So I'll ask you a question. Did people's view of you change around you?
Or when I got diagnosed?
Yeah. So like, did like relationships seem different?
So because I'd had like the unofficial diagnosis from like the doctor and the therapist, I kind of told my close friends, hi, I could have this, so this could explain certain things. But it wasn't really until I really got it that people were like, oh, like shit, okay. And a lot of the friends that I was friends with before I was diagnosed, I'm not friends with anymore.
Yeah.
Because they would say, it's kind of like, the whole issue is they say they can handle it, and you explain the depths of what it actually comes to, and they say they can handle it, and then when it comes down to actually handling it, they can't.
Yeah.
Which is, I get it, like, it's not easy, but I feel like if you love someone enough, you should be willing to
do
help.
that and help them as much as, support as much as you can. And also, so this is the one thing that I found with my sister, is that when my sister was going through all this stuff, like, she would just get angry at, like, me and my family. And we were like, at the time, like, obviously we don't think this now, but at the time we were like, what the fuck? Like, why is she just getting so angry all the time?
Yeah.
And, like, she would, like, but the only way I can describe it is kind of act like a child. She would go and storm off in her room and, like, like, there was times where, like, she'd throw stuff and, like, at me and, like all this stuff.
This sounds like me before I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't throw stuff at people because my sister is a child. She is 7.
Yeah.
So, like, when I was getting diagnosed, she was, like, 5.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to throw things at her.
Oh, no.
I didn't want her to see any of it. I wanted her to be really sheltered from it. So, and I also think that's a big reason why I went and stayed away and wanted to move away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want her growing up around me being really unstable. Yeah. Which is why, like, I'm happy that I'm in a good place now, because I feel like, because she looks up to me, and that's not even me just trying to be big-headed. Like, she's my little sister, so of course she's going to look up to me.
Be big-headed. It's not being big-headed, it's being like, I'm a good freaking sister.
So I never wanted her to see me in a bad place. Yeah. So, but it's like the throwing stuff that I remember. I just, like, the anger you get sometimes is just, there's no way to get it out other than to literally, like, scream and throw shit. And I know I do it, and then afterwards I feel like I'm insane. Yeah. But, like, that's the only way to do it. Yeah. But no, my family didn't really know about it until recently, because obviously I got diagnosed officially when I lived with my ex, and then I've been at uni ever since. Yeah. So I only really properly went home for a long time this summer. So I went home in June, and I was there till September. And that was when I actually spoke to them about it. Yeah. Because I had a day that I'd had a really rough day, like, not even, like, really big things happened, but it was like...
Was it, like, little things that, like...
Yeah. I was out for my birthday, and my friends... It wasn't actually my birthday, it was a few weeks before. But it was the only day my friends could come down. So both my best friends came down to London. And I was having such a good day. And then my trains all got cancelled because there was a fire. Yeah. I was like, oh, God, okay. Had to go the long way to London. And then I was wearing a white dress, and I got my period. Oh, God. Yeah. And then it was raining, and... So
it's just... No, they're not even little things. They're just, like, things that you don't need...
It was just so stressful. And then I got home, and even though with all of that stress, I'd had a really nice day with my friends, and I was so happy. And I got home, and my brother and my stepdad, they are quite like, I don't know how to explain it. They make jokes, but they don't mean no harm by them, but they can sometimes make really insensitive jokes. And they were kind of making fun of me a little bit, and I know it wasn't malicious, but it just hit a nerve. And I was in there, and I was
sometimes
screaming
at them.
Sometimes it'd be like
that though. Sometimes it just one thing could just set you off, and you're like, no.
And I was like screaming at them, and I was like, you don't understand how my mind works. Like, you don't get it. And I'm like, I literally have this disorder, and you don't even give a shit. Like, you just still do all these things that you know are triggering. And then I realised they haven't got a freaking clue that it's triggering, because I hadn't told anyone at home. Like, my mum knew I'd had a diagnosis, and I told her what it was, but I'd never really sat down with her and explained it. Or with any of my friends. Also, my brother's only like 14, so I'm not going to sit and probably have that big conversation with him just yet. But I remember I stormed off, and I went like sulked in the bath for like an hour, and then I came out and I talked to them, and I was like, listen, like, I have this disorder, and the things you were saying to me were triggering, and I know you didn't mean it, but they were, so like, in future, can you just not do that? And then they didn't again. But like, they weren't to know.
Communication as well. So that's one thing that I found with my sister, is that things have gotten a lot better. So like, I mean, when she did have, we used to call her these episodes where she'd get very, very like angry and violent towards me. One thing that I'd always said is that I would never ever hit my sister back, because even when she was diagnosed, I know that like, she's not necessarily meaning to do this. She's just, this is the only outlet that she's doing. So when that was all happening, and when she was getting quite violent towards me, we ended up just coming up with like a thing of, okay, so when she's like this, she normally goes upstairs into her room, sits in her room, and we just go no, and we just step back away from that, and to let her have her time until, you know, so she can get whatever anger out on her stuffies, I don't know what to bloody call them, but what are they called?
Like stuffed animals?
Yeah, teddies. That's
Teddies.
it. She's got a bloody unicorn. But yeah, no.
She beats up the unicorn.
I don't know. Sometimes it's a bit sad. Bloody unicorn, poor unicorn.
But yeah, no, communication is so important, because like, the friends that I've got now, I've probably been the most open with them.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, listen, I need a lot of reassurance, because there'll be days where my brain, for absolutely no reason, will tell me that you completely hate me and you don't want to talk to me anymore, and you're going to cut me off and you're going to leave. Yeah. And that sends me into what I say it's in a spiral. And I will message them, and I literally just message them now, and I'm like, we good? And they're like, yeah, Amy, we're good, like, love you, like, you've done nothing wrong, you're fine. Yeah. But I've had friends before that I've done that, and they're like, oh, like, again? Really? You need reassurance again? Like, I literally gave it to you 2 days ago. Like, why do you need it again?
Because like, in that mindset, like, I get it, and then the mindset of, like, say if, like, you think you've pissed someone off. Yeah. It's, like, that kind of thing of, like, are we okay? Yeah. Like, what? But, like, I get it. It's, like, you need that reassurance to kind of, I guess, like, even in friendships, they should be able to reassure you anyway, you know? Yeah. I think reassurance is a massive part of relationships.
Exactly. But it's just, like, they just know how to do it really well, and they don't ever make me feel guilty for asking for that reassurance.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel guilty.
But I've had people that made me feel guilty. Like, my ex, I remember, he left to join the armed forces, let's just say.
I love how you said that, the armed
forces. And I remember just being adamant that he didn't want to be with me anymore. Yeah. And I would call him, and I'd be like, are we good? Like, are we okay? Like, and he would just be like, oh, for like, fuck's sake, really? Again, do you not think I'm, like, busy enough right now? Well, it turned out that he was just falling in love with someone else, so I was, in fact, correct.
Then, yeah.
But it was just, like, that he was like that, and it was like, I just need you to tell me that you love me and that you want to be with me. And obviously he wasn't, because it wasn't true. Yeah. But like, no, but then... And then
he's an arsehole. What an arsehole.
Oh, don't. While he was away, I remember... I was going to mention this earlier, but I completely forgot. He said, like, when it was like people's opinions changed. When I got diagnosed, he was really good at first. Mm-hmm. And then while he was away, We had an argument. I can't even remember what it was about. It was so pathetic. My friend was literally over at my house, and he just like shouting at me down the phone, and I was just like, what the hell? And he was like, yeah, you're so annoying, like always like bothering me, like it's just so annoying, like just leave me alone. And I was like, sick, bye then. And he texted me, and he was like, I'm so sorry, like I love you, like I don't mean, I'm just so stressed right now. And then I'm just like, yeah, no, I get it.
That's a switch and a half.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but like, what the hell? How can you go from like talking about wanting to marry me and have babies with me 1 minute, and then you're screaming at me down the phone? And he was like, yeah, but like, I'm worried about us having kids together. And I was like, what?
Why?
And he was like, yeah, because like, what kind of mother are you going to be, like, with your mental health the way it is, And I was like, sick.
What a
all
dick.
right.
I would have been like, no, you're fucking... What? I'd have been like...
We broke up like a week later.
Yeah,
like,
100%. Go off.
But it was just like, that was one of my biggest fears, and he knew that, because like, we'd had that conversation of I didn't know if I've always wanted kids. I didn't know if I wanted biological children, because I'm like, what if I pass this down? BPD isn't really genetic. I think I can pass down mental health conditions, but BPD itself is more trauma based, so I can't really pass it on. It's mad. I don't. At least with the research I've done, is that it's usually not genetic.
It's trauma based.
And so I was like, oh my god, like, because either way, I want to adopt anyway. Like that's always been something I want to do.
Yeah.
But I've also always wanted to be pregnant and have a baby.
Yeah.
So, like, then I found out I could, and I wasn't gonna, like, give them this illness I didn't want to give them, because I know how hard it is, and I wouldn't want to put someone else through that. And I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, like we can actually, like we can have a baby, like, together.
Yeah.
And then he like threw that in my face like a few months later, and it was just like, how sad I was about that.
Yeah.
And how happy I was when I found out that it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And so he did not help.
And he's probably not helped with your fucking reassurance thing, considering he threw the thing that you were scared most of in your face.
Mate, we were looking at houses together on FaceTime, like 3 days before he broke up with me and got with someone else. Literally looking at houses to move into together.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So like, and then it's like, I saw this thing the other day. It's like your brain is always trying to prove itself right. So when you have all these thoughts like, well, he's gonna leave you, he's gonna abandon you. When it happens, your brain's like, told you so. And it's just like a thing. So I was adamant. I was like, when I was so panicked, like my therapist was always like, you got to tell yourself that they do love you, they do want to be with you. Why would they do this if they didn't love you? Why would they do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
But you try and find excuses,
and then I do that
as well.
But then I was doing that, and then it was all he was cheating on me. Well, he's never admitted it, but I'm pretty adamant he was, because apparently they told each other they loved each other a week after we broke up. So, yeah.
Sorry, how can you...
yeah.
Are we on Love is Blind?
Exactly.
Sorry.
So, like, but I was doing that, and I was doing those exercises of telling myself, no, he does love me. He does. Of course he does.
And you were doing it for yourself as well.
He didn't. And I was like, great. So I was right this whole time. Yeah. Why did I even bother with all these reassurance exercises? They're useless. And it's like...
And then that probably sent you into a freaking spiral too.
Yeah, because then I was like, great, now I don't trust anyone. I don't trust myself. I don't trust my own brain. I don't trust me to tell myself anything. And it was like, well, who the hell do I trust now? And then it was like, that was it. I was out. I was partying. I didn't go back to drugs, which I'm still, like, happy about. And I still haven't. So, like... Yeah. But...
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it was just... It was a really rough time, so I was just out, like, getting drunk all I could, just to, like, get away from it.
Yeah.
But that obviously didn't help in the end. And then I kind of ended up in another spiral, and I ended up in another shitty situation with really shitty people kind of surrounding me. People I trusted, and then they broke my trust. And, like, that was it. I was like, that's it.
With people?
I was like, that's it. Never having another friend, never having another partner. I was like, that's it. And then I met my friends that I've got now, and they are probably some of the most amazing people I have ever met.
Yes.
And unless they fuck me over too, no, joking.
No. Imagine the scenes.
But now I feel like I'm in a good place, but I also feel like that's because I had to sit there and I had to research what I had to do for myself. Because the thing is, you can have people around you so much telling you that you're great and you're amazing and that they love you and they're going to be there for you, which is great, obviously. But unless you can sit there and you actually find the worth in yourself and the love for yourself within you, you're never going to actually get better.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the work, I think, because like with this therapy this time round, I sat there with her and I went through everything. I went through like from birth to now, everything I've ever been through, everything that's ever happened, anything that's ever caused me any sort of trauma, I covered all of it. And in doing that, I was able to notice the patterns and notice what I was doing that wasn't helping situations.
Yeah. And it's also like admitting the wrongs that you've done too. It's not all about like the things that people have done to you. It's also what you've also done to others as well.
Because I think when I got diagnosed a little bit, and I hate to admit it because I can't believe it, it's annoying. I kind of blamed it a bit. I was like, yeah, no, but that's just because of my BPD. Like, yeah, but that's not my fault.
Yeah.
But
there's this person that you might get angry. My sister got angry, but yeah, basically, there's this person that was very violent, and
I think you've told me this story before.
Yeah, and she literally like got very violent towards people, and then blamed it on her BPD.
Yeah, because I think I got the diagnosis, and then for some reason I got back in touch with like someone from my past, and I went, yeah, but it wasn't my fault that I did all this shit to you, because actually it's my diagnosis. But at the time I hadn't actually accepted the diagnosis. I hadn't actually done the work. I hadn't actually done anything. No research. I was just like, yeah, no, but it's not my fault now. I had something to blame.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like it was like end of last year that me and him got back in touch, and I had to sit there and be like, no, I did like really do some bad shit to you. And it was like mutually we were really toxic to one another, but it took me that long to really admit that I was in the wrong. And I'm very proud to say that now I'm really self-aware. Yeah. And I can know when I'm in the wrong. Yeah. And I think the diagnosis of it just gave me a more of an understanding about myself. Yeah. And in getting the diagnosis and doing the research, I know how to manage it a bit more, so that I wouldn't even have to blame anything on it, because I'm managing it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because there's so much. I feel like we haven't actually talked about like actual symptoms of like BPD, but obviously like my main ones is like fear of abandonment, and I have really bad attachment issues, and I need a lot of reassurance, and I don't trust people a lot, and I get the explosive anger, and I get the feelings of emptiness and numbness and everything like that. And it's the self-identity that for me is the worst, because I will meet someone new and I'll be like completely like infatuated with them. I'm like, oh my god, you're so cool and amazing. And then I don't even realise I'm doing it, but I'm mirroring them, and I'm acting the way they act, and I'm trying to like what they like, and turn myself into someone that I think they'll like, so that they'll stay around me. And it's like I've done it so much, and it was like in first year, everyone loved that I was this crazy party girl who was like a bit dumb and would like sleep with loads of people and be really flirty and make inappropriate jokes and comment.
That was me.
Yeah, and it was that people thought it was hilarious. But no one actually wanted to be my friend, because they're like, oh no, she's like unstable, don't actually be friends with her, but she's just really funny to watch. And it was
that's a bit fucking hard.
Yeah, and it was like I kept up that persona so much, and it was the same, kind of similar at home as well with the friend group I was with back home. Was that I almost felt like I was performing for them, because I was trying to be this person that they liked and they wanted to hang out with, and in reality I was going home and I hated myself, and I'd hated the version of myself that I'd turned myself into for them to like me. And like with my self-identity, it just changes so much. And I remember, like, this is so random, but like, I really embraced my nerdy side when I got with my friends that I'm with now. And I was like, am I actually nerdy? Or like, am I just pretending to be because they are? Yeah. And it was like, no, I am. I've just never felt comfortable enough with people to show this side of myself. Yeah. And I remember like literally having like these meltdowns when I became friends with them about how, like, what if I'm just being nerdy because they are? What if I'm only like this show because they like it? And what if eventually I'm going to stop liking all this and they're going to cut me off?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I feel like the person I am now, even though I still struggle a little bit with self-identity, I feel like this is the realest version of myself that I've been able to find. And I know that I've got my friends that no matter if I wanted to try and, like, not try and be someone different, but if I wanted to be like, I'm kind of interested in, like, dressing like this now, or, you know, going and doing these activities, I know that the friends that I've got now are like, yeah, no, I'm so down for that for you. Like,
no, yeah.
I'll
They're
come
supporting.
too.
They're supporting.
Well, like, my style changes constantly.
Oh, no, I get it.
So, like, last summer, I was like cottagecore lesbian vibes. That's how I was dressing.
I love it. Yeah.
Now I've got freaking Harley Quinn black and red split dye hair, and
but
I
it
wear
freaking suits you.
Thanks. And I wear like alternative clothing, and that's I feel like me like that. But and then in a couple months' time, I could feel like me in. I don't know, what's another, like, dress sense? I don't know, like...
Street style?
Street style.
I don't know.
Like,
girly...
I could... But this is the thing, like, I don't feel like I have to stick to one...
Thing. Yeah.
Because my friends will support me. Like, I could come out... So I could come out today. Like, today, I am tired, so I'm wearing a tracksuit. And they're like, oh, you look cute. Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, I could be in a full-on, like, goth-style outfit, which I was, like, 2 days ago. And they're like, yeah, you look sick. I love it. But they're just supporting it.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, because I feel like you can really lose yourself in trying to be someone you're not, because you want people to like you. And you do. You have that constant need to be liked and
then you, like,
wanted.
have that... Also, like, with style especially, is it the thing of... You wake up in the morning and you stress about what you're going to wear because you're like, oh, yeah, will people like this?
Yeah.
When you're not actually doing it for yourself.
Because that's, like... It's just... I forgot what I was saying. It's just, like...
That's okay.
That's
eat
the
some
whole
chocolate.
thing. Yeah, eat some chocolate. That's the whole thing, though. Like, I think that's what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. Style is the easiest thing to change. So, like, I can't change my entire personality overnight, but I can change how I look. And it's like, that's the easiest thing to change about myself for someone else. When I felt like that. Now, I do things because I want to. Don't get me wrong, I asked for advice. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to dye half my hair red or pink, so I'd ask my friends. But it's not like, oh my god, I only dyed it red because they told me to dye it red. I was like, no, I wanted to do either colour. I just couldn't pick because I'm indecisive as fuck.
Oh, so am I, don't worry.
But, like, it's just, I think that's my biggest issue that I have. Because also there are people in my life that I don't like who I am when I'm around them, but it's like I don't really have a choice but to be around them at the moment. And it's like I'm hanging out with them and I say things I wouldn't usually say and I do things I wouldn't usually do, and it's like I don't love that I do that, and I try to stop.
Upset with yourself.
Well, yeah, I'll go home and I'll overanalyze everything I've said, everything I've done, and I'll feel like a horrible person.
Yeah.
But in reality, I know I try not to be too hard on myself, because especially, like, that's what my counsellor said to me on my last session. She was like, you are so hard on yourself. You've come so far and you need to accept that. Like, you need to appreciate that. But it's really hard not to be hard on yourself when you feel like... Yeah, it's like when I feel like I've changed for someone else, when I've finally become so secure, it's like, oh, great, well done. Why have you done that for? And then it's like, it's a whole thing. And it's just like, it's not fun. And it's also then I need the reassurance from my friends. Oh, but like, do you think I'm a bad person? And they're like, well, no, we don't.
Yeah.
Or like, are you sure though? And they're like, no. I was like, are you gonna like fuck off? And they're like, no.
They're like, no, we're not.
But I'm adamant they will. And it's like sometimes as well, even the reassurance isn't enough. Like, I can have my friends message me and be like, I love you, you're my best friend, I'm not gonna abandon you. And I'd be like, they're fucking lying. Like, the voice, not actual voices, but like the voice in my head will be like, no, they're lying. Like, they're just trying to cover their ass. And it was especially like, I have some certain triggers which I now don't tell people, because I've told people and they've used them against me.
What?
But, like, one of my big triggers is, like, dishonesty. If you lie to me, I'm done. Like, I won't forgive that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's something now. That's a boundary. Oh, my God, boundaries. We'll talk about boundaries in a minute.
Oh, my God.
That's
a
boundary that I have in place now, that if you lie to me and you don't have a valid reason of why you've had to lie to me, then you're done. Because I will never trust you again. And I will never be able to tell you anything again. And I've had people, like, I've told people that, and then they go and lie to me, or they go and talk shit about me. And I'm like, I've literally just told you that will send me into a spiral, and you've gone and done it. And it's like, why? Like, why is that necessary? And also, like, just lying in general is just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, for me, that's one of my biggest, like, things, is people lying to me, because then I will never trust you, and I will never feel secure with you.
Yeah.
And that's, like, security in a relationship is such a big thing. But yeah, that's, like, a big boundary that I've got now. Mate, boundaries were a thing. That was a whole last thing of, like, learning how to put boundaries in place. But I knew to put boundaries in place. I just then would never stick to them.
Yeah.
Like, I had a friend last year who I'm not friends with anymore, and he was quite, like, touchy-feely. And I was like, I'm putting this boundary there.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Like, we're not together. We're not a thing.
So why are you doing that?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they would do it anyway. Or, like, they would talk to me about... Because I had feelings for them. And then they would talk to me about...
They're stringing you along.
That's your opinion. They would talk to me about, like, people that they liked. People they were having issues with. Like, romantic issues with. And I would just be like... Can you not? Because, like, I'm literally in love with you. But then I'd then always go back on it, because then they would need help and they would need support, and I'd be like, okay, no, I'm here for you then. Yeah, you can talk to me about it. Even though
it made you feel uncomfortable.
I didn't want to. No, so that wasn't uncomfortable as such. It just made me really upset.
Yeah.
That they would tell me this stuff. And I remember one time, like, they would literally, like, talk to me about someone, and I was, like, crying. They didn't know, but I was just like, sitting there crying because on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear about how in love you are with this person. Yeah. There we go. And also, like, because I was in love with them, when they were, like, very touchy-feely with me, it didn't bother me.
Because you just wanted that.
I wanted that connection, and I wanted the affection from them because I was in love with them. And it wasn't until I lost those feelings that they were kind of like that with me, and I was like, whoa, okay, can you not? Because this is weird now. Even though it was weird the whole time, but because I was in love with them, I didn't care.
Did you tell them that you were in love with them in the end?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. It didn't go very well.
Did it not?
No, it didn't. And I feel like I opened up to them about
feelings.
My BPD.
Yeah. And
stuff. And they were great, to be honest. I'm not going to sit there and deny the fact that they were very supportive for most of it. And if I needed, like, reassurance, they weren't great at reassurance because I don't think they really understood. But they did try. So I appreciate that they tried. But with BPD, you have, like, there's this thing that, I don't know if everyone has it, but you have, like, favourite person. I call it favourite person syndrome. I don't think that's the official words to use. But, like, I've had it 3 times.
Yeah.
That I can, like, pinpoint. Having it at the moment, which is, like, awful. And it's awful that I can notice it.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything about it. That there's no changing it. Because if I choose to distance myself from them, that's going to hurt me anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can try and do it and keep it as manageable as possible. But also, I literally have no control over it.
Yeah.
But he was one of them.
He
knew that. Because I told him. It took me a while to think if I should tell them or not.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I understand it's a lot of pressure. Because with favourite person, like, at least with me, my whole mood depends on how you are with me. If you're annoyed at me, that's it.
I'm in a shit mood.
I'm in a shit mood for the rest of the day. You send me a dodgy message, like,
wouldn't even mean anything. You put a message without a kiss on the end. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
or, like, full stop at the end, and I'm, like, sick. Like, alright, you hate me. I'm going to cry now. But that's how it is. Like, it was literally as little as that. You could literally send me a message that seems a bit off, and I'll just want to burst into tears and be like, great, I've ruined that now. And it's so... Oh my God, no, I saw this thing on TikTok the other day, And I was like, no, stop, because I never thought of it like that. With two of my exes, I was like sleeping with them after we broke up, because I was like, yeah, like if I do this, they're gonna stay. Like they're gonna get back with me. They're like, no, that's not how it works. They thought we were just friends with benefits. Whereas in my head, I'm like, the more I have sex, then the more they're gonna fall in love with me. And I saw this thing, and it was like, it's a line of a Billie Eilish song, but it's like they changed it. So it was like the Billie Eilish song is like TV, and it's like, oh, like, I don't know, but it's like, so I don't, it basically it's like, so I don't have to watch you leave. And it was to that song, but she'd put on the screen like, I'll offer friends with benefits so I don't have to watch you leave. And it was like, oh my God, like, no, because I've done that. Because I've had guys in my life, I didn't want them to leave. So I've been like, what, friends with benefits? Sleep with me? Sick. You'll stay. But
it's that expectation of people as well.
Yeah. And like with my other favourite, because I've had 3 favourite people that I can like pinpoint. And the thing is, I only really pinpointed one the other day, and it was the first one, and I didn't like clock it until I really thought about it.
Yeah.
And it was the guy that I was staying with when I was like doing all my drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
And we dated for like literally a fucking week. A week. And he was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. And I was distraught.
Really?
I was like, how will I go on? But this is how, like, at the time, this is how, like, fragile I was, and how much of that reassurance and, like, love and affection I needed from people. Because I thought I was in love with him after a week. Obviously, looking back now, I wasn't, but I thought I was. And that's how quickly it can come on. And, like, that was it. I didn't want him to leave. So I was like, well, we'll be friends, right? He was like, yeah, of course. And then I started staying with him. And then we started sleeping together. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this is going to work. He's going to like fall back in love with me, and we're going to be together, and it's going to be great. And he could have told me to do absolutely anything, and I would have done it. I remember, this is mad to think of it. It was his idea for me to come to uni. Because I didn't know, because we'd worked together at the spoons shop that I got fired from. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Because I was in another job, and it was awful. Like, it was really toxic environment. And he was like, I don't know what to do with my life now. Like, I've just worked, because before this I was doing an apprenticeship, and I'd worked in like office management, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't passionate about it. And I was like, I want a job that I'm passionate about. And he was like, this is mad to think about now, because we talked about it the other day. And it was like, he was like, well, you're really good with people. You like people. I was like, yeah, no, I love people. Like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. He was like, well, like, why don't you be like a carer? I was like, I've done that. And I was like, it's not really my thing. He was like, teacher, you'd be a really good teacher. I went, would I? He was like, yeah, you'd be a really good teacher. I was like, I'll be a teacher then. And that was it.
And that was it.
That was it. Him telling me that I'd be a really good teacher. I went, okay, I'll be a teacher. And he was like, okay, well, you got to go to uni to do that. I was like, yeah, I'll go to uni then. He was like, what are you going to study? I was like, I don't know. And I had picked drama because that was the only subject at school that I actually enjoyed. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll go study drama. That's fine. But it was all his idea. Yeah. And like, obviously it's benefited me now because I'm on a really good course. I've met some really good people, and I'm in like the best mental state I've ever been.
Yeah.
So it all worked out in the end. But it's mad to think, like, if he hadn't told me to come to uni, probably wouldn't even have thought of it.
And you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Yeah. And I don't think he clocked it. I don't think he ever clocked it, but he was like, when we talked about it the other day, I really like talked to him about it. I was like, no, I think the way we talk about this, I was like, I actually think it was like favourite person thing, because my whole life revolved around him and what he wanted me to do and how he wanted me to be. And I would have done anything for him. And I was distraught because he wasn't from London, so he had to move back to where he's from because of lockdown. And I was distraught. I was like, how am I going to survive without him? Like, how am I going to ever go on?
And what are you going to do?
Call him. I was calling him every single day, like, being like, I miss you. Yeah. Like, I don't know how... I'd call him crying, like, I miss you. I don't know how I'm going to go on without you and stuff. I found that so embarrassing. But, like,
I just thought about that TikTok. Are you not embarrassed?
Yeah.
Are you not embarrassed? Is that TikTok?
Yeah, it's TikTok sound, I think.
Are you not embarrassed?
I'm not embarrassed. But, like, luckily now, we can look back and we can, like, laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because...
But that's nice, though, that you can laugh about it and, like, you know, he understood that you're in a time in your life where you know, you needed that reassurance and you needed all
But it
the
also
love.
goes, because I thought that favourite person, like, didn't go away.
Yeah.
I thought it was forever. But it kind of shows that it's not, because with him, at least for me, it's not. I don't want to say it for everyone, but for me, it's not, because I still love him dearly, and he is probably one of the best people in my life. Like, my mum loves him. My mum absolutely adores him.
I love that.
My mum wants me to marry him.
Marry him.
Yeah. She's adamant that she wants us to, like, be together, and he's like, no. But in a nice way.
Yeah.
We are just friends, and I think we both know that, like, in a relationship we wouldn't work anay.
Yeah.
Because I'm really dependent and he's really independent, so it's a
it'd
bit
be like,
it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But we're really good friends that way.
Oh, that's nice.
And he's great, and he's one of, like, the most amazing people I know, and I owe him a lot. Not that he says that I don't, but I still feel like I owe him
a
lot because he really helped me out, and I don't think he actually knows how much he did help.
Yeah.
But he's great, yeah. And, like, I just feel good about the place that I'm in now, and with everything that happened now has brought me to, if I've had to go through all of this to get me to where I am now with the people I know and the person I am, then I'm okay with that, because I feel like I've grown so much recently, and I'm so proud
and
of
you're
where I
learning,
am.
and say that a bit louder. Say it louder.
Also, I'm a genius. I'm joking, I'm not. But, like,
no,
even the work I'm doing on this course as well, I'm just so proud of.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like I'm going on to actually make a difference with the stuff I want to do, because I finally realised what I want to do, and it's actually not being a teacher.
What is it?
I had this idea in first year about working with kids that have, like, trauma, or like, they're, like, what's the word? They're, like, stunted, like, at age because of mental health issues.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I want to help them through performance or through drama or through something like that. And I was like, I've never heard of that, so, like, maybe it's not a thing. And I kind of just forgot about it. And then when we were doing Applied this year, we had one of the lecturers come in, and she did, like, a whole workshop. And she was like,
Georgia?
Yeah, and she worked for a charity that help kids with, like, learning difficulties, or people that can't speak, kids that can't speak, through, like, storytelling, helps them speak through storytelling and performing. And I was like, no, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help people. And I remember I called my mum. I was like, Mum, like, because she manages a preschool.
Yeah.
And she works with a lot of special needs children. And I was like, Mum, like, this is how amazing this is.
Yeah.
And she got really emotional, because she was like, this is, like, I can think of so many kids over the years, because she's worked there since I was a baby.
Yeah. That would benefit. And also, like, it'll be a thing of, like, you know, you're going through, you know, BPD and everything, and that can also really have an impact on, like, how... So say if you did, like, a workshop. Hi, by the way, I do MA. I do this for my MA. I do a master's in workshop and facilitation in drama and stuff. But yeah, no, that could really benefit a lot of people, as well as, like, it can help you learn as well. It's like my sister, she's is part of that suicide prevention worker, and she does it, like, she goes to schools, she goes and, you know, and she talks to, like, kids that have it, and, like, and, like, even adults as well. And she said, like, she's not only learning about her own diagnosis through it, but she's learning also that it's kind of different as well for everyone, and all sorts. So I think that's really fucking powerful, and, like, you should own that.
I have this, like, unwavering need to help people.
Oh, so do I.
Like, that's always what I wanted to do, and that's why, like, I enjoyed office management and, like, all that, because to some degree I was helping, because I was an assistant, basically, but, like, that it wasn't to the degree that I wanted to help people, and I want to help improve people's quality of life and stuff, and bring awareness to things that need to be brought, like, that need to be spoken about more. And I feel like I'd always be happy with doing that. Like, that would always bring me a sense of accomplishment, to go through everything that I've been through in my life and use that for the good of others.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to come on and talk about this, because you also gave me free reign on what to talk about.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to talk about this because no one knows about it, and I didn't even know what it was. And when I got told that I definitely have it from some random girl, and now it's a lot more like talked about.
A lot of people, I think, it's a lot more kind of, people are a lot more aware.
But that's because like diagnosis rates are going up so much.
Yeah.
Like since I got diagnosed, I think the numbers have like shot up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, it's good that there is some awareness about it now, but now there's even more people being diagnosed. There's even like
more
it needs more, and stuff needs to be more accessible.
Yeah, accessible.
Because also, I remember like how it's like when I researched it, when I first got told about it, everything I read was negative. Everything I read was how you'll never be able to keep a job, you'll never be able to have a fulfilled life, you can't have a family, you'll never have a stable relationship with anyone. And I remember reading that, I was like, great, what's the point? Like, what is the point of trying? What is the point of trying to get better, trying to work through it, actually try and have some success?
Yeah. Well, look where you freaking are now.
Yeah.
You know?
But now,
you're in
like,
third year, about to freaking graduate.
Oh, stop it. But like, yeah, and I feel like that person I was like I'm trying to think of the maths. What year is it? 2 years ago.
Math is not mathing.
No. 2 years ago, it's like, I literally thought that. I was like, great, I'm never going to have a stable job, never going to have a stable relationship, never going to have a family. Like, what's the point? And now I'm like, I'm doing really well on my course. I've got good relationships with people. Fair enough, I'm single, but I'm happily single for once.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy being single and being on my own and don't feel the need to have someone else. And I've got a job that I love.
Yeah.
I've got side projects that I love doing. Like, my calendar is full and I love it. And it's like, I wouldn't even have thought, like me 2 years ago would not have thought that I'd be here now.
Yeah.
And that's a lot
and
of that.
you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and a lot of that was because of the shit that's online, because it's so negative. But not so much now. It's a bit more of like, I see a lot of TikToks now about like the positive sides of things, because there is. Like, yeah, we have really intense emotions, which means we love so deeply and we have so much love for people because that's how, because our emotions are intense, which means we have intense love. Like, and I feel like people forget that. People are just like, oh, intense emotions, like you're crazy. And it's like, no, it also means that I'll love you so much and I will treat you amazingly and stuff like that. And I feel like people, and we get so excited as well. I've noticed that with me recently. I get so excitable. And that's like because my emotions are so intense that I get really intensely excited.
And then
but
when
that's a good thing.
Do you do this thing? I've always had this since I was a kid. Is that I'd like to say, right, this is an actual thing that happened. So I was going to Fort Park, right? This is when I was like bit of an odd excitement. Oh, it's fun though, to be fair.
Yeah, of course.
But I was really excited, and I always do this, and I get so excited, and then I really get disappointed, like really disappointed, and I just cry. And like I remember crying. This was when I was like 14, and I just cried at the fact that I didn't go to Fort Park.
But I'd be devastated, to be fair.
Yeah, and like, but it was like a time where I could like go out with my friends and stuff, and like I always do that to myself. I always put expectations of, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and then when it's not a thing, I'm like, oh, and then I just cry. No,
I think I saw this thing online. It was like, it's a privilege to be loved by someone with BPD because we'll love you
no matter
endlessly, and so much, and you'll never feel like a slight bit of doubt that we love you because we will tell you constantly because we understand what it's like to need that constant reassurance. And I literally I message my friends constantly. Okay, I have to say this quickly. I message my friends constantly, and I'm like, "Oh, I love you guys. You're amazing. Like, you're like one of my favorite people. I appreciate you so much. Like, I make sure I tell everyone in my life I appreciate them and I love them because I know how nice it is to hear that when I need it." But the other day, I just was like, I had this like revelation about how much I love everyone in my life and how great my life is at the moment. And I messaged all my friends and like my family. And I was like, I love you guys. And then my friend texted me, she's like, I love this. This is such a beautiful compliment.
Oh, I love
but like,
that.
are you okay? Like, she was like, is this like goodbye? I was like, no, like, no. She was like, yeah, no, because that's the thing. Like, obviously, when like if you're gonna like, you know, you message everyone like that you love them so much, and she was like, are you okay? Like, are you having a breakdown right now? And that's why you're telling everyone that you love them because you feel like you've done something wrong. And I was like, no, I just want to tell you that I love you.
Yeah.
And it was just, I never thought of it like that. And I was like, oh my God, they all think that I'm like going off the deep end and I'm like telling them I love them before I go off on the deep end. I was like, no.
You're actually, the thing is also like you're in a good place right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they just worry. They worry
just
themselves.
Worried, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to do a little game now, and it's called Volvo.
What?
So, vulva is fact.
Okay.
And Volvo, like the car, is fiction.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask you some questions.
I'm stressed.
Don't be stressed. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay. Oh, you're hiding it from me.
Yeah.
Even better.
I can't tell you the bloody questions. Right. So, number 1.
Okay.
The main treatment for borderline personality disorder is a type of talking therapy called psychotherapy. Is that vulva or Volvo?
Oh my God. I don't know. Because I swear it's called DBT, unless that's the same thing, it's a different name for it.
Yeah, but with like a generalisation of all of it.
Yeah, because I know there's no specific like medications for it. You can take like antidepressants and stuff, but that's more like manageable. It's not like a treatment. I will say vulva.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got it right.
Genius.
Oh my God. Yes, go on, queen. Right. So, number 2. It's estimated that 1.6 of the adult US population has BPD, but that number may be as high as 5.9%. Nearly 50% of people diagnosed with BPD are women. I
don't know. I feel like it's higher. Like, I feel like it's a higher number.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Volvo.
Like the car, beep, beep.
Beep,
That's
beep.
why I put the sound effect in. Beep, beep. Okay. Yeah, you were correct. So nearly 75% of people diagnosed with BPD are women.
That's what I thought.
I know. Maybe that's why it's not being diagnosed properly. Imagine.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Imagine.
That's why it's not being advertised enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3. Borderline personality disorder, God, I can't speak today. BPD is a condition characterised by difficulties in processing others' emotions. Do you think that statement's fact?
I don't know. What do you mean, like processing someone else's emotions?
So, like, processing someone else's emotions.
I actually have no idea. I don't know. Well, I mean, it depends how you mean it, because I struggle to understand other people's emotions, but then I'm very empathetic of other people's emotions. It's very, like, confusing.
Okay.
I'm going to say vulva.
No. So I just changed one word.
I thought it could be, like, an aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is, but it says the actual definition, one definition, is borderline personality disorder, BPD, is a condition characterised by difficulties regulating emotions. This means that people who experience BPD feel emotions intensely and for extended periods of time, and it is hard for them to return to a stable baseline after an emotionally triggering event.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. I feel like, regulating is really hard. Because, like, you can go from, like, top of the world to, like, to depths of hell.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And then, like, and I feel like coming back from that as well.
Let's talk about dissociate. Do you have dissociate?
Yeah.
So do I.
Really bad.
Same.
I don't even realise it. No, because I saw this on, like, I don't know what, again, probably on TikTok, 'cause I'm on it all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, when you just arrive at home and you've realised you've disassociated the entire walk home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit. I do that a lot.
Same.
I do it, though, a lot without meaning to.
Same. Well,
And it's so random. And then I'm like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I first got told about disassociation, it got really, like, badly explained to me. And it was like, no, you lose complete control over yourself.
Yeah.
But it was only in, like, a negative way.
Yeah.
And it was like, like, you're gonna go and you'll do crazy things and you won't even remember them. Which,
No.
For some people that is the case.
Yeah,
And I'm not diminishing that. But I was like, oh my God, I can never dissociate. Like, I can never let it get to that point.
Yeah.
But, like, for me, just disassociating happens on a regular basis, but not like that. It's more of, like, I look at everything around me and it almost looks like I'm in a cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. or like it feels like it's not real. Like I'm not me. I'm not living my life.
I get that.
I'm in a show. And this is all just like happening around me, and it's not actually real. It's like it's like a set. It's like I'm in another reality kind of thing. I might be insane. But that's what mine is. Yeah. But it lasts for like a couple of minutes or like up to an hour. But luckily I've never had it that it's like a whole day of anything. But that's my regular one. I look at everything and I feel like nothing's real, and I feel like I'm not a real person.
It's mine happens when I'm walking.
Yes. No, because I was walking up Commercial Road the other day, and I was like, this is not real.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not here. I just feel like I'm floating.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Literally.
I used to get it as a kid. I used to be like, am I insane? Do you know any coping things?
No.
My sister told me some really good ones. So, this is what I do when I have really bad episodes. I would put my face in a bowl of cold ice water, and I'd do 10 seconds. Wake up. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. And each time I'd dip my head in. And you do it like 5 times. And I swear to freaking God, Jesus, right? I swear. No, it actually works. Like, it feels like you waking up again. It's like 1, okay, right, 2. Or like going for a cold shower. That's like an easy one.
That sounds...
That sounds horrible.
I can't get into a cold shower. It freaks me out.
It does generally help when I'm like feeling really, really dissociative. Is that I just stick my face in cold. Sorry, I thought someone was coming in.
I think it's the other side of the studio. But with some people with BPD, it's because they were autistic in childhood.
Yes. And so my sister's autistic.
Didn't have any support.
Yeah. So my sister's autistic.
They think I'm autistic now.
Yeah.
So my sister's just been diagnosed with autism, and my mum's like, mate, she's got it. You've definitely got it, because how she is and how I am was as a child is the same. Like the abandonment problems, like the anxieties and stuff, we have exactly the same ones. And then I spoke to my therapist about it, and she was like, yeah, no, I could see that. And I was like, great. Spoke to a doctor about it, and they were like, yeah, I can see that. But obviously, again, it's the whole thing again of like they can't diagnose me with them with it. So like, and again, like all the freaking autistic stuff that I learn is from TikTok. And it's like,
guys, this is the thing. You need to
go on TikTok.
Just go on TikTok.
But obviously, if you're gonna take life advice from TikTok, do your research. Also, fact check.
Fact check it.
But yeah,
it's also like one thing I like just quickly talk about is the fact that like obviously I haven't spoke about my diagnosis on the podcast, which will be a different episode, but you know about yeah. So with that, mine's gonna. I don't have any way of like it can be solved basically. There's no like thing for that, and it's gonna be a life thing. I'm going to have this thing for life. So how did you find that when you were like getting diagnosed? How did you like kind of cope with that? Because obviously there's always going to be triggers, like and like knowing that you're going to have triggers throughout your life.
I think it was really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And it still is, like, somewhat. So I'm a lot better at dealing with it now. But I think when he said that to me, I was like, well, great. I've got this for the rest of my life now. Like, again, it goes back to what I said earlier about, like, what's the point of trying then? Yeah. I'm going to have this forever.
Oh, yeah, no.
There's no cure.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Screw it. Like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, okay, but there's support. There's treatments that I can do. They won't cure it, but they'll help me manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's coping mechanisms I can use and stuff, and it's not always going to be awful. Like, I'm still going to be able to have a very full life, just this is just going to have to be a part of it. And I think sometimes I still struggle with it, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a mum one day. I feel like I'm scared that I'm going to be a parent one day and I'm going to have it, and I'm going to I'm going to have triggers in front of my children, like what the hell. And that really upset me when I realised that. But again, like, as long as I'm managing it and I'm keeping myself healthy, like, physically, and trying to keep on top of my mental health, then it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. So, but it is hard to, like, get a hold of, like, the fact, okay, cool, I have this forever.
And have the realisation of that as well.
Yeah. How do we end it? How do we end the podcast?
So,
then? Are we going to edit all these random chatty bits out, by the way?
Yeah, like, I mean, we can keep them in if you want to, just for... Just for the bants. Right, okay, so...
But this is going to be like an hour and a half long, so maybe not.
It is an hour and a half long.
Yes, maybe we'll edit out some of the chatty bits.
Maybe. Okay,
Yeah.
right, so the last question is... Okay,
Yeah?
Amy,
Okay.
what would you put in the Clitter Hall of Fame? What would you put in it?
Drum roll.
Oh,
ASMR. Eddie Munson from Stranger Things, because he is amazing and he helped a lot of people who felt like they identified as freaks or crazy people and people that were picked on and bullied for being different, and he made them feel like they had a voice and were accepted and loved, and I fancy him and I've got his face tattooed on my arm and his bat tattoo. We have matching bat tattoos as well.
Do you?
And I have his guitar tattooed on my other arm. So, him.
Eddie Munson.
Eddie
the guy
Munson.
who plays him.
Joseph Quinn plays him.
Okay, Joseph
I've
Quinn.
met Joseph Quinn as well.
Have you?
Yeah, at Comic-Con in the summer.
Did you just cry?
I cried after, but I didn't cry in front of him. I just hugged him, and I was like, you're amazing. I was like, you're an amazing actor. I hope you know that. Like, you've helped so many people. Like, thank you so much. And he held my hand. I was like, thank you. I was like, and then I walked out. I had a really cute picture with him. I'll show you in a minute. And then I cried.
Oh my god, I love that.
But he is one of the sweetest human beings in the whole world. So,
oh my god, I
props
love
to
that.
him. Love you, Joseph Quinn. Not
We
you're
love you,
ever going to
Joseph
listen to
Quinn.
this.
We never know.
Maybe.
Please.
Joseph Quinn, if you listen to this, hit me up. My number's... Oh, no, I'm joking.
Imagine. Oh my, I thought you were actually going to put your number in there. Like, hang on a minute. Okay, so, well, that's the podcast.
Definitely have to keep that part in.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so that's the podcast. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, my
That's
darling.
all right. I hope you had fun.
I had loads of fun.
Yeah.
We talked for so long.
I know. We're both just chatterboxes. That's what it is.
Literally.
Yeah. So let's think of one thing this week we want people to try. And you can go first if you want to.
What? Did not mention this part to me. Try watching Stranger Things.
Okay.
Season 3 is the best season.
Whoever is watching, we're not on a bloody show. Whoever's listening, then, yeah, watch Stranger Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that. And also, just keep fact checking. Is that the
fact checking.
That's such a hard thing to say. Fact checking.
Fact checking the shit you find on TikTok.
Yeah.
Make sure it's real.
Yeah. And just, if you are getting a diagnosis, and you're waiting around, like, also do your own kind of research as well. Also,
if you're in the process of getting diagnosed with anything, even especially like a lifelong thing, like, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you
like,
are.
Oh my god, it's so cliche. It does, like, life gets better. Ugh, I hate that because people used to say that to me.
Cringe.
People used to say that to me and I used to be like, shut up. But it genuinely does. Like, things do get better.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
And you will be okay. And you are loved. I love you. I'm holding a love heart to the microphone right now. There you go.
Like, Amy legitimately is. So. Oh my god. Okay, well, we both love you. I can't speak today. We both love you. And yeah, thanks again for listening. And any questions, send them to the Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, look out for the next episode coming out soon to be coming out. But yeah, no, thank you for coming on, Amy.
Thank you.
And okay, so bye guys. Love ya. Everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. And thank you for all your support. And you can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. And like I say, my DMs are always open. So if you want to be on the show, you can choose your own topics. And I hope you have a lovely day.
Maybe.